Talk podcast. I am with my co-host, Dr. Michael Wright, and tonight we have a pack program for you. So I am excited that we have our sister girl, our home girl, our Virgin Islands royalty is what I call it because you know her last name carries a lot of weight. Miss Michelle Turnbull. Sister Girl is here to tell us how she is resilient to through hardships, hard times, and still make it and do her business, bounce back and do what she has been called to do on this face of the earth. So I want you to meet Michelle. Michelle is an empowerment and transformational coach with a profound vision. She believes that every woman has the power to transform their lives, even in the face of overwhelming grief. Her mission is to guide you on a comprehensive journey to healing and growth, empowering you with the tools of self therapy. I love the word self therapy and emotional recording. Through her services, she will help you navigate the emotional overload, find clarity, and reignite your motivation. I'm already motivated. You are capable of overcoming these challenges and emerging stronger and more resilient. Miss Michelle Turnbull, honey, thank you for being with us tonight and sharing. And please, you are welcome. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to continue to share my journey and my story with everyone.
Yes. So for those of you who might be missing my co-host, I think he is indisposed at the moment, but I'm sure he'll join us later. So in the meantime, Michelle, you and I are just gonna have sister talk,
Yes.
heart to heart talk. So tell me now, honey, tell me a little bit about yourself. How have you come to be Miss Michelle Turnbull? This Michelle that we were looking at.
Oh, yeah. So there's so much history behind the transformation that I've had and the journey that I've been on. I'll start from when I was younger. So I grew up in St. Thomas,
Mhm.
and I experienced Hurricane Hugo, and that was my first my first true experience of trauma and PTSD. But I was young, so when you're going through it at that age, you don't know the terminology to go with it. But we ended up coming here to New York, and my mom moved back, but I stayed here because I was just too traumatized to go back. I was like, I don't ever want to be caught in another hurricane. Like that's not, so stayed here, grew up here. Like the second half of my growing up was here in New York. And then Hurricane Marilyn hit when I was in college. Um, I was away though, and part of the scariest part was not being able to contact my family. So while I was in college, like I almost came, like I almost quit to just come home so I can be, there for my family. But my mother, once I finally got in touch with her, she's just like, you staying, I'm good. So,
Mhm.
but my mom passed. She went through surgery. She had cancer, breast cancer, and she had her first surgery while I was in college. So
Mhm.
she passed away in 2004, and
Mhm.
from that point forward, like everything for me just completely, I lost my best friend, I lost my way, I lost my path. And I stayed in that funk, depression,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever terminology you want to use for it, for a very,
Mhm.
very long time.
Mhm.
I was sort of on like an autopilot where I did
Mhm.
all of the things I was supposed to do. I finished college, got my master's. I moved up from being a teacher to an assistant principal to a dean. Like I did all of the things, went to an Ivy League. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I did it. But if you would have asked me what, like, what was that experience, I couldn't tell you. Right. It wasn't a experience of I was in it for me. It was more of this is just what I know I need to do. So I just did it. And that is sort of how I got to the point where I am now. My stepfather passed away in 2020 during COVID. And before he passed away, he he gave me a lot of, I'm getting ready to leave you, and these are all of the jewels I want you to know. And I know that when your mom passed away, you sort of lost yourself, but I need you to live now, and once he sort of gave me that pep talk, and once he actually passed, I had to come home finally. So I stayed away from home all of that time. I came home, this is what now, after 16 years to bury him. And that journey home is what sort of gave me that missing key to everything that was happening. I was able to visit my mom's grave. I was able to reconnect with family and friends that I hadn't seen in years. It just opened up a different layer of life for me. And as he said, I began to live, and figured out what it was I wanted to do. And the more I told my story of just that becoming, or that opening, or that realization, it just brought me to this point where I am now. I mean, where I actually met you at Girlfriendism Retreat. I remember I forget, I think I was just searching, just online or something, and saw Kanuma and the retreat advertised, and I said, you know what, maybe I think I'm gonna go, when you're expanding yourself and
Right.
out to people that, like, it wouldn't be something that I would normally do. So
Right.
I said, you know what, let me jump in the water and let me see what it brings me. Maybe I get some new friends. They always say when you get to a certain age, you don't need any new friends. And I'm just like, well, maybe I do.
Maybe you go. And that retreat was something. But Michelle, listen, I want you to go back. Hold on. So you mentioned Hugo. I'm thinking and I'm counting all the different issues that was traumatic for you, right? The different layers. But
Mhm.
yet you still kept pushing. I
Yeah.
remember Hugo too. In fact, I remember Hugo, and I decided then that I wanted to be a social worker. I
Mm,
was 14 years old when Hugo happened in St. Croix, and
mhm.
FEMA came and they were trying to mitigate. And I go, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, maybe I might want to do that as I get older." So I'm living self-fulfilled prophecy, right?
Right,
So
right.
Hugo happened, my child. Listen, then your mama had cancer,
Mhm,
right? Then situation unfortunate happened, Lord. Then Maria happened, oh Lord.
mhm.
Then you still find yourself. So I'm thinking, so were you doing what you were doing? Because as Caribbean persons, our parents leave a legacy, whether it's in words, in action, and just to follow along, not as if we're just moving with the flow, right? Not
Mhm.
be cognizant about what it is that we really are doing for real, not for me, but because they have already done this, told me this, I just know I need to follow the path, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
is that what was happening for you then?
Yes. So my mom, she was an educator also. And she was no nonsense. She had a daycare in St. Thomas. She had a private school up here in New York. So part of that autopilot that I was on was just like, this is what my mom would want. This is what she would do. Like, she was speaking within me, even though I wasn't living within her, right? Or living through her. It was more of, my girl, you need to do something. I know you don't have the clarity, but you need to do it. So whenever I made like any accomplishment that I had, I forget the term that they use, um, where it's like I shouldn't diagnose myself, but it's like, some people, it's like you have to achieve certain things, or you're always looking for the next achievement. You're
An
always
overachiever?
not, well, yes, that I am. That I am, but there's definitely there's another term. There's another term. It's not coming to me right now.
It'll come to you, and I can't think of it
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but like, every time I would go to a program and I got accepted to the program and I finish it, and I'm just like, you know what, that's just not enough. I get my master's, I finish it, that's just not enough. Now I have to do this, and I'm just like, there's something, I'm like, I feel so unfulfilled in everything that I was
Mm-hmm.
doing. But
Mm-hmm.
again, as I accomplished each step, that autopilot was my mom saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's gonna come to you at some point.
Why did you feel so unfulfilled, Michelle?
Um, I think that probably that was probably the depression. I
Mm-hmm.
never went to
Mm-hmm.
counseling. I
Mm-hmm.
never did grief counseling. My
Mm-hmm.
family, I drew back from my family as well, just because I put myself in a complete shell. So
Mm-hmm.
it was really just like I just was unclear on life. I didn't know what my
Mm-hmm.
purpose was. I didn't know really what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do. I just was an
Mm-hmm.
educator because that's what I was doing before she passed. I was like, well, let me
Mm-hmm.
continue doing this. This is gonna make me money. This is gonna keep me
Mm-hmm.
sustained. So let me continue. I loved what I did, but at the same time, that unfulfillment was just, when you don't quite have a destination, you're just
Mm-hmm.
moving
Mm-hmm. You just
along.
keep moving, right?
Yeah, and that's what
Until
I was
until
doing.
until a stop come, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, my dear. So I am listening, and so that happened. Then your stepfather, he
Mhm.
passed, right? After giving you all these life lessons, what did you think about that?
It was, you know, so it was in the moments when he was getting sicker, like we would
Mm-hmm.
have these conversations, and it was not as real to me having a conversation. Like I knew we were having like this ending conversation, and that finality didn't really hit me until he was actually gone. So it was more of, now I'm home, he's not here, you have to do something. It was more like, because he was my lifeline. Like, my mom passed, my dad passed. He was there. He was like my like he was my jewel, that my mom
Mm-hmm.
left behind.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, he's my last parent. This is the third leg right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, he's gone. There's no one. Yes, I have people to count on, but when you have that one person, like your parents are your parents. And then when he passed, it was more like, okay, now it's time for you to put things in gear. You got to take care of yourself. You got to manage his estate. Like, you can't sit back and cry and just be, yeah, you got to let out the tears. That part I get, but you can't just let it go like you did before. And maybe
Okay.
it yeah, maybe it was the lessons that I learned from my mom. Like I knew I couldn't do that again. I couldn't spend another 15 or 16 years in depression like I did with her. So it was more, we're here, we gonna figure this out. And
Okay.
that's kind
All
of
right.
what it was.
We'll talk more about the healing part and the healthy part, as to how you get out of that depression. Okay, so we're building the case. Girl, I can't imagine. I mean, praise God, I still have my mom and I have aunties and uncles, that um, see me through and encourage me along the way, and good friends, good women friends that God may have sent my way. You talked about how we met, and at least you were trying to get into that conversation. You didn't want to go. What did that did for you that day? In fact, can I tell you? Let me go back to that. I did not want to come. I was like, listen, I ain't trying to be about these people here, because when a whole heap of women come together.
Right, right, right.
Listen, and then we miss out. We miss on the wealth of knowledge and comfort, and it's all trauma. It's how we've
Mhm.
been acculturated to think about us as women, but we don't know the person that we are is the same people that we need to become, right? So tell me about that experience there.
Whew, that was an experience. So I was one of the sponsors for the retreat, and I didn't know that I was going to speak. So when Kanuma told me that day, like, yeah, we're gonna set you up in a session. In my head, I don't know. I thought, I was just introducing myself. I didn't know I had like it wasn't clear to me that I had like a session. So it was it was very transformational because I've never told my story to anyone, even leaving my job and that whole traumatic situation. Like again, there's so many things that come along with my story, but it was the first time that I had opened up to anyone to the degree that I did at the retreat. And that was again part of that realization, that turning point that got me here where I am now. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
felt comfortable in the space of women that I was with, and
Mm-hmm.
it brought something to me that I hadn't had before. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I have girlfriends and they're great. I can talk to them,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the unveiling of the
Mm-hmm.
inside for the first time that just
Mm-hmm.
truly like allowed me to say I'm going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it was really like I cried so much that day when I got back to my room. Like my
Mhm.
eyes were heavy, my body,
I saw it. I
you
saw
know,
it.
yeah, like
Mhm.
everything was just like I laid down and
Mhm.
and I actually slept so good that night.
Praise God.
Because I had released so much that day,
Yeah.
but it was
Mhm.
truly just telling my story and
Mhm.
having the confirmation, from
Mhm.
others that, you're not the only one going through,
One. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
two, just, just acceptance of me
Right.
and all of my flaws in that moment. So that was,
Mhm.
and then the session with you, I was just like, oh my God.
Mhm.
I was like, and I don't know why you was picking on me. I was like, why is she
I
coming
promise I wasn't
for me?
picking. I was not picking because I
I
saw
was
you.
like, why
It
me?
wasn't
And
just.
I
It
was
wasn't
like,
just
oh my
you.
God. And I
You
forgot what
know.
question you asked me. Oh, you had asked me about my stepfather
I promise.
because
I.
I remember exactly what you had asked me. Because I had stayed away so long and I was still harboring some guilt in regards to not
Oh
being
yeah.
there,
We
helping
believe
him
that.
out. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you had you had asked me and you had said something like, well, what would you tell him? And I'm like, oh no. I was like, oh my God. But again, all of that was a part of the healing because I needed to let it out. I needed to let it out and I need
I
to speak
saw.
it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw healing that day. And
Yeah.
honestly, when I did that particular presentation, so I don't ever know exactly how things are going to fall into place. So I have an idea and I just throw it and I get let it flow. So the
Let it go.
group itself is what moves me and move the activity. And it seems to me in that particular time that group needed to just express some things. And this is what was happening. And you guys did great. I
Yeah.
surprised myself even. I'm like, wow. But for you that day, I saw healing. I saw healing taking place. And I didn't know all your story.
Mhm.
I've learned about certain aspects. I saw your interview on the one show there with the girl. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Right, but that was also very powerful. I like the fact that you celebrate your mom. So
Mhm.
let's be on that bench a little bit. You talk about coming to the group and how healing and transformative that was that particular day. In part of the healing process, part of you becoming who you're becoming, do you see the importance of sharing and especially with women of our kind, men, but women mostly, being part of that journey, being part of that supportive journey, and how
Absolutely.
do we harness
Yeah.
that positive energy?
Absolutely. Part of the issue with me and not receiving therapy was I couldn't find a therapist that matched. There was not. I had gone to several, at least I think I at least three I tried out, and I was just like, I'm not spending my money no more. So I literally start. That's why I say self therapy because I had to truly do the work myself because I just couldn't find anybody. Now, if I had found someone, I would have been going, and I probably still would have had that person, but I just couldn't. So again, knowing that I had to make that change, I truly started to dig into what do I need to do, and part of it was I need to get around people who are like minded. I need to get around people who I feel comfortable with saying exactly what is on my heart and
Yeah.
them being able to receive it and them also being able to give me guidance.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can tell people things and they just, oh wow, oh okay.
Mhm.
I needed feedback. I needed people who can really truly, get into how to help me move forward. And that is part of what I completely, advocate for is share your story. In order for others to also go through their healing journeys, they have to hear it and they have to see others be successful in what they're actually doing. So that's part of why I share my story, and that's part of exactly, why I chose to do it with the girlfriendism retreat.
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Because we keep going back and forth. I just want to pause for a second so I could introduce my fabulous, my sacrificial co-host, Dr. Wright. Let me tell you, in my little island talk, and Michelle understand it. I love you until I love you because you were so supportive of this thing. This man was driving, and I know you probably had a gig somewhere, but you're so committed to the cause. Sir, I just want to say thank you so much for the support that you offer me, and I want to welcome you. So here is Michelle. We've been talking about some of the learning lessons and the stepping stones. That's what they are, right? All
Mhm.
things work for the good for them that love
Absolutely.
God. So at any time, Dr. Wright, you could jump in anytime you want.
Yeah, I just I have heard all of the piece. Thank you, Michelle, for showing up.
Thank
And
you.
that's not just on this show, but sounds like you've been showing up a
Her
lot.
whole life. Yeah.
And I think that's a point in resilience. The other thing is, tell us, both of you, could you tell more about this retreat? Like, when's the next one, and what's going on? Like, this sounds like one of those, once in a lifetime that needs to be repeated kind of things.
Yeah,
Like,
it is repeated. Yeah, it is
who got
repeated.
together, and then they realized, oh no, we should do this every year.
Yeah,
It
so it
happened.
is repeated. They actually just came back from Bali. So they
Yeah.
alternate. They go overseas, and then they also do home. So the year that I went, it was home in St. Thomas, and then this year is in Bali, and then next year is, I think, it's going to be in St. Croix. If I'm
Michelle,
not.
I want you to tell the people who the people them be so he knows
Oh,
who you're talking about.
yes, Dr. Kanuma Simmons. Her and Giovanni Peters. They are the brand All Things Girlfriendism, and they have a boutique where the clothes and all of the items are made by women for women. So they sell jewelry, clothes, shoes, accessories, furniture, things for your home, perfumes, everything. Entrepreneurs supporting entrepreneurs. So that is sort of, and then again, the All Things Girlfriendism is they have exercise and mental health,
Soca dancing.
Yep, soca dancing. And then there's a nonprofit for Hope, which is the nonprofit for domestic violence survivors. So they help support women there. It's a lot. The whole brand is. I was just so blown away just getting, involved with the retreat itself, and then seeing the layers that come with girlfriendism. It's something that I support just in general. And like I said, just with any woman who, if you need supportive people, if you could get to St. Thomas and you could join up with girlfriendism, just go
And
ahead.
St. Croix. It's on St. Croix.
And St. Croix, yes, all of the VI, not just St. Thomas, all of the VI. But if you don't have a girlfriendism, you can find or start your own group where you can begin to attract women who are of like mind for you to support you in your endeavors.
And to add to what Michelle was saying, Dr. Wright, remember we had last week the one guy who was talking about this fabulous woman he has?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is his fiance.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yes, that's the woman. That's the woman.
He messing up.
Listen, no, he's not messing up. He's great.
That wouldn't be my fiance.
They getting there.
Okay,
Ain't no
Dr.
way.
Wright, be careful now, because I think he might be listening, right? And I want you
He
to
should
come
be
on.
listening, and he should be taking my advice.
I want her
Look.
here. So one of my episodes is to have her here so you can see how the woman is doing
She
this.
is
And not that she's
fabulous.
fabulous. Her
Yes.
personality and her intentionality about making you feel important, making you feel like you're part of the journey, you're part of the process, right? Her authenticity, the way, the integrity that she has as a woman is phenomenal, is second to none. So we're going to have her on the show so she could talk to us about Sean. What do you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
let's go to a break and come back and talk about some of the lessons that we need to learn, which I think you've introduced really well, Michelle. And thank you, Dr. Gail, for giving me some time to get into that. But after the break, let's talk about that and give some of these pieces, particularly this idea of getting engaged in a retreat, but being vulnerable enough to be picked on. Because I think a lot of us are in that space of we don't want to do that.
We don't let our bones out the closet, but sometimes you have to.
I just want to make it clear I was not picking on her, and that's all I'm saying.
Duly noted. So we're back with our segment on promoting health before we get to the final segment on healing. the promoting health piece, but it still fits for what I was talking about. Michelle, what would you say about the vulnerability in particular? Because I think resilience, some people kind of leave that part out of it, but being vulnerable, especially in those professional spaces.
Right. So for me, or what I would say is it's definitely necessary. In order for you to receive support, you have to be able to share. Right. Part of what I experienced through my journey, or when I went through like the most like troublesome pieces, I wasn't telling anyone. So they would see me. I would be smiling. Like I said, I had a good job. I had a car, my house. I was moving up the ladder in my career. So no one knew. No one knew. Even my family, like they're so shocked. Just like, oh my God, I didn't know I didn't know it was that bad. It was. But part of it is you have to be able to share. And that's why now, like, that can't shut me up. It's more of now that I feel what that release is, the support that I've been getting, and not that I don't crave attention. It's more of that's the confidence. Like it started to like I can stand up with my shoulders back now.
It releases you.
It really released like a weight off of my shoulders. And a lot of folks do not they keep it to themselves out of embarrassment, fear that people are gonna judge them. They just don't want people to know like some of what they've went through, and it's okay. They have to know that it's okay. It's okay to say I'm not doing good. It's okay to say I messed up. It's okay to say I didn't know what to do with my life. And that's the biggest piece that's one of the things that I've learned is that in order for me to get the support that I need to get to the level where I am and even further, I have to share. Like I have to let people know. And then I have to let them know that I know they need to open their mouth and say something,
Yeah. There is strength, I think, in being vulnerable, and not only strength, there's also a level of resilience. Not only that, you give people permission to be honest with themselves as well, right? Because too many times we suffer in silence and we think it's only us going through certain things. But I think once you open your mouth that one time, it releases you. It's like an energy that comes from within and it just explore. And with that, your mission is it's not just telling your story. Your mission is how can I tell my story and how can my story help someone? So being vulnerable liberates you in so many ways, but you have to reach that point for yourself, right? You have to make a decision. This is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to move forward with my story. Very good.
Let me jump in with a question, which is really me venting, but I'm gonna say it's a question, so it seems like it's appropriate. I'm
You
still
do this all the time.
last week's conversation, and it's about my biggest pet peeve. As I'm not dating, I'm not dating because that doesn't make any sense. But I am talking to members of the opposite sex about life plans and where they're coming from. And I think it fits in the context of your story as well. But, the subtext is I'm salty about last week. But the question is about this critical piece. I think a lot of people have been vulnerable to the wrong people.
Yep.
And so the biggest thing now is discerning who is worthy of being vulnerable to. And I think more than not being resilient or being closed or not opening up, I think people need to get discernment and whatever. If you don't know what that word means, look it up.
Right.
I don't feel like explaining it every day. That is the perfect word. You need to know who has your back and who doesn't, and figure that out so that you're not spilling it to the wrong person and then saying, well, nobody cares about me and I can't get satisfaction and I need to be this way now. And people are throwing away, this is my pet peeve, they throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Right.
And they say this stuff doesn't work. And it's like, I'm sitting over here, I am the best person you will ever meet. And that doesn't mean you have to marry me.
Right.
But you should respect me as the best person you will ever meet.
Dr. Wright. So I hear you, and I'm with what you're saying. But you cannot be boxed in because of the fear of someone not healthy, not whole, to receive the message you have to offer. I think that, and you can be deserving all you want, you're still going to find people who are judgmental and people who are broken. And because they're broken, they cannot but be broken, say broken things, behave in broken ways. And that's the risk you take. You take the risk that hopefully that one ripple effect will find who it needs to find and permeate and become what it needs to become to that person. But I don't know that you should hold yourself hostage or block yourself in because you don't want to share the information to the wrong person. No, no, no. Remember now, it's not even about the person receiving. It's about you healing and growing. And if you're confident enough to release and let go, then so be it. I mean, I can't cuss on the people that show, but because you understand I'm a Christian. But do what it is that you need to do and let the rest figure it out.
Yeah, part of what I've done as well is not just the self-therapy, but the emotional recording. So that's also in my bio. And with the emotional recording, that's letting it out, even if you don't have anyone to let it out to. So that could be you literally recording yourself. Do an audio, record yourself, just let your feelings out. Get your journal, start writing. I have so many, like I just get my thoughts out. Get on your phone. Sometimes something will come to my mind and I go to my notes in my phone and I just type it out so that I can just get it out and read it back. I remember there was one time when I was crying. I sat in my car and this is one of the reels and things that I put out on social. Like I was crying and I had gotten to the point where, again, this is before my stepfather passed. Where I said, you know what? I was crying because he was passing. I knew it was coming. The job I was in was just, everything was just kind of all over the place. I sat in my car and I cried and I got my phone and I said, you know what? I'm going to record myself right now because this ain't what it is. And every time I scroll back to that one video and I saw it, I was just like, you know what? Yep. This is no more. So I can look at that video now and just say, I am so glad I'm not there anymore. But I show it and I I didn't record it for anyone. I recorded it for myself, literally as a reminder of this is where I am. And when I look back at this moment, I know there's going to be a journey on the other side. So even if I couldn't voice it to anyone, I had it for me. So sometimes we have to be just comfortable with like being true to ourselves. Right. First, being true to yourself and then my mom used to always say like a listening ear is a running mouth. So that same thing with the discernment. Don't just talk to anybody. Right. You have to figure out the who and the what. And even if sometimes you may think it's the right person and they may betray you. Right. And that's okay. That's okay. You just move on from that and you just don't deal with it anymore. But the more times you get burnt with some of those things, you'll realize faster or sooner who those people are to continue to repeat it.
Right. So I can't worry about who is going to repeat and who's going to burn me. So there's a saying that I rather tell you my sins than you tell me about my sins. So if I am telling you what my journey has been, and I know the narrative of my story, I'm not going to hear what you think because I know who I am and I know what my story is, and this is for me, right? A year ago, Michelle, I went through a very traumatic divorce, almost lost my life, literally. It was that difficult. And you talk about recording, I guess I didn't know I was giving myself the healing I needed. And a lot of what I did was to record. So I'm a journalist. I mean, not a journalist, I journal, right? And I'm a narrator. So I will speak the thoughts that come to my mind. And looking back today of those thoughts that I could okay, look at how you had to leave and cross over to this side. And honestly, what I was feeling back then, I no longer feel that, right? I don't know that I have arrived to the plateau of healing or that I'm but I know that in the process that it was necessary for me to be here, right? It's necessary to tell your story to yourself. I mean, as I was talking to on my phone, and when I feel it's a message that I could share with the world, and then I send it to whomever, right? And so, yeah, I agree with the recording. Whether it's video recording, voice recording,
or writing it down. And if you're an artist, some people are good at draw out your feelings, like whatever it may be. Sometimes you have to start with you. You can't always look for that person because that person might not be there. But you have to be comfortable with like release it. You gotta release it. You gotta release it, or you're gonna end up in some other kind of trouble.
Right. And sometimes the way you want to release it, you can't do so much with a therapist. It just has to be a personal thing.
And that was, I think that was part of my issue too, with not being able to connect, because sometimes they ask questions and I just, in my mind, it was just like, but that's my thought, and I know that, again, you need to reveal it to get the support, but there's certain things, like you said, are just personal. And that's the part that I had to kind of, grapple with. And that's where that, let me do this first before I jump on anybody's couch, because I got to process my own stuff before I can get anywhere else. So it's not going to work.
That's a good point, because a lot of people think that it's something about, especially Black people, and they're resistant to the therapy, the psychoanalysis, sitting on the couch type of thing. And I've always said that I don't think that's what it is. Yeah. That's why I'm so hard on therapists. Like I really think, like I say to people, yes, you need therapy, but if that first session doesn't work for you, and I'm not talking about a difference of opinion, I'm not talking about them challenging you or giving you homework. No, I'm saying if they don't connect with you, if you don't feel a connection, then go. No, because you can find another person. And I think there are a couple of elements, though, that you're bringing in. It's the connection piece, but also there is some very personal work, that you need to do. Maybe that's required, and maybe that's a message for therapists out there. Like, give people that note that they can, or that process that they can use to do their personal work, and then they can bring what they're willing to share to the session, as opposed to it being that kind of weird, so what brings you in here today kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Because I've always said that's never worked for anybody.
Yeah,
unless it was still crisis.
Right, it didn't work for me. It was just like, you asking me what brought me here? I don't know. Like, I thought you were supposed to help me figure that out. But yeah, like, now I'm a little bit clearer on what I would need, that support, or what that therapist can help me with. But when I was in the throes of what was happening, I wouldn't be able to say, I wouldn't, it wasn't really, and they have the techniques and the strategies to help you pull it out, but I still wasn't even cognizant of myself of exactly where and what I needed.
Yeah, because sometimes that really is difficult to know. That's why I'm pushing zodiac sign. By the way, what is your
I'm a Cancer.
I'm a Cancer. Okay, yes. And what? July or June?
July Cancer. Yeah.
July Cancer. Okay, yeah. So you are the ultimate crybaby.
I am emotional. I mean, everything makes me emotional, but some in a good way. But yeah, I am definitely emotional.
Well, definitely in a good way, because the people that cry a lot and it's for violence, that's more of a March Aries. So you're the good crying.
Yeah.
That you actually release and emote through your crying. That's how you release the energy that might, for a March Aries, be intended to hurt people.
Yeah, like when I get angry, I cry to relieve it. I don't cry because I'm gonna attack. It's more of like, "Woo, you done took me there. Let me let it out." So that's like that's that woo-saw moment. Like, woo, yeah. Let me put it down a level. But yeah.
I just want to go on record to the world that I don't do zodiac signs, and and that's what that is. My name is Gail. I want on record. My name is Gail Ann Guy. I have a father. I was created by God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and whoever I have become to this point, personality, crime, fire, fever, all of it came from Jesus Christ Almighty. I am on record. I'm done. Okay.
Hey, look. Don't get me started. That's another episode, because that's who started all this.
Very serious about it.
How the wise men find this brother?
They were wise men. They want no zodiac sign. Okay, Michael, please.
No, what they do? No, but tell me what they did to find him.
Can we focus on Michelle tonight, Dr.
Michelle, how did the wise men find the baby Jesus?
From the start.
Thank you.
It was three wise men who Jesus gave the knowledge to know who God gave the knowledge to know where Jesus was. They were wise men. Now the Bible never explained what kind of wise men they are. And if they knew where Jesus was, God have to give them the knowledge, the inspiration. That is my story. And I'm
you're
sticking
sticking to it.
Amen.
Yes, we definitely next week. No, that's okay because I have an idea for a podcast where I'm going to
Okay.
talk all about that.
Okay.
So that'll be my first episode. Is Jesus? They were led to Jesus by the star. That's So Michelle, so you have a lot of this health promotion, as it sounds like it's in the word empowerment, but how does that translate into your practice today?
So yeah, empowerment is giving people the permission to do what they want, right? Giving permission for people to understand that you deserve, like, they always say abundance is our birthright. Like, you were born to be great, and I want you to know that. So I want to empower you with whatever words. I want to empower you with whatever guidance you need to get to that level of greatness that you want to be. So that's where that empowerment comes from, I think. And that also just comes with my innate, that's just something that's innate. My mom was that type of a transformational leader. So she always spoke words of inspiration, always spoke words of motivation. And as a teacher and educator, that was like my drive as I went, as I continued my career. So that's what I just do. I try to empower others to understand and know that you are great. And no matter what you go through, no matter what it is, you're going to go over a whole bunch of bumps. You're going to be flat on the road, but you're still worthy of greatness.
Yeah.
Amen. Michelle, what does that word resilient, what does that mean to you?
Not stopping, not giving up. Despite all odds, you're going to keep going. Resilience is, it's like that. You have the energizer bunny that just keeps on going and going and going. It's that, right? It's that despite whatever you are going through, just don't stop, right? You have to be able to just keep digging. It's not going to feel good all the time, and that's okay. But when you feel that ugliness or that weight, that's really where the growing and the learning actually is beginning to happen. That's where the light, once you come out of that heaviness, is going to be where you are. That resilient spirit is just like, it's almost like a unseen, unknown entity, right? Which is God, right? For some is God, for some is others, something that's different. But it's just that spirit that is behind you, that's like that twisting of that knob behind your back. That's just like, keep going. That little buzz in your ear that's just like, nope. Don't stop now. If you're on the track and you're running and you're about to give up, like, nope, keep going. That's what resilience is for me.
Okay. And so I hear that, and I think I understand what you're saying as far as just keep pushing until you get to where you need to go. But does resilient then, can it look like stopping sometimes, take a break, but I'm not stopping
absolutely,
to stay there?
Yeah.
But resilience say, because I am resilient, I am on this journey. But right now, I just need a drink of water so I can replenish and I can continue. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the continuing, that's the not giving up. So you may have to stop and reassess what's happening, right? You're going down, you're going through, you're getting over humps. All right, I made it past level 1. Let me figure out, all right, what do I have? Let me assess what's happening. And then you move forward. So that's still the resilience. You're just taking a pause, figure out what's happening, catching your breath, getting your water, hydrating, whatever you want to call it, and then you do move forward. But again, it's that continuing, right? It's the persistence, just not stopping, the consistency.
What do you think, Dr. Wright?
My biggest thing with that is, as you're talking, Michelle, I'm thinking about how life deals you these ups and downs, or the more precise way to say it is life is ups and downs.
That's right.
Like, it is that cycle. And I'll give you the example, especially in the context of what we've been talking about. You actually gave us the example of grief, because you lose people, but we knew you were going to lose people. Like I'm so insensitive is what some people might say, because I knew we were going to lose them. So I prepared. When I got that moment where my mind said, you need to go check on your grandma, I went and checked on my grandma. I had no second guessing, no fixing that up, no, I'll do it tomorrow, so that then when she did pass, I had no regrets. I had no surprises. And that's what I feel like, that's what I'm hearing as you talk about, life is going to be up and down and in the middle. Like, don't get too high, don't get too low, but always kind of be on that joyous upswing, as you said, continuing, because the rest of it's just life.
Yeah.
The power of empowerment is that you recognize that there's a way that you can perceive it that is always joyful, even in the midst of the terror, the absolute terror that's going on out here.
Dr. Wright, I think that it requires a bit of skill set to be in the frame of mind that you're in, right? And honestly, I've always, I think you were cut from a different thread, because I feel that I've known you to be that way for almost forever. And I don't know where that wisdom come from. It could have been from life experience, or it could have been from, just life is what it is, right? But some of us are not in that frame of mind to see it that way, right? Especially if we come broken, right? Especially if our childhood wasn't that good and we didn't get the therapy, we didn't get the education, we wasn't exposed to what life could be as far as different and healthy and whole, right? So it's not as easy. I teach a class in trauma-informed care, and in that class, we talk about a child who would have been loved and nurtured, right, in the first few months. Could grow up to face any of life adversities. They bounce back. We talk about resilience. Like, it ain't nothing. It ain't like, it should have knocked them down dead, but somehow they find ways to move forward, right? Because somehow that touch, that nurture, solidify. It was etched within the DNA for some reason that I can get through this. In the same way, a child would have been abused and mistreated, would find it most difficult to get up forward to go on, right? So I feel, again, it is what we would have been taught, how we would have been cultivated, right, as children, what community does for us, what society does for us, who and what we were exposed to, so we could get to a place, right, even when we are knocked down, even when life is difficult, right? So some of us know how to, and some of us don't.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it, and why I decided to, go on the journey of starting my business and what I'm doing, simply because others, they're going through things and they don't know how to get to the other side, right? They don't know what the next step is. They just, like we said, they keep quiet about it. They don't know who they can talk to. They don't know that there are strategies that you can use. They don't understand, when you get into your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, it's okay to have a new friend. That whole no new friend thing, like, stop. What do you mean? Like, some of my greatest friends right now I'm meeting now, and some of them I haven't even met yet.
Amen.
Let's not play that game,
But that's growth. No. That is growth, and a person who is secure and confident.
Right. And if someone is not telling them, then they stay in that zone of I'm not, I can't grow. This is not going to get better for me. I'm going to grieve for the rest of my life. Like, you're really not. Like, if you begin to take those steps, if you begin to do that work, you'll make it through.
Absolutely.
Can we take a break and then come back with basically, I want to hear more about this business that you have going, and then sneak in like how I should be your new best friend. So how about a break and then we come back?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. This is good conversation.
So I'm back as well, and we are here to talk about facilitating healing. Your host is Dr. Gail Ann Guy, and I'm just a tag along, Dr. Michael A. Wright. Happy to tag along.
Not true. He's not
Well,
tagging along. He's the host as well. I don't think that he's a co-host. I think he is the host and has me tagging me along.
with such an amazing person who tries to keep me in line and fails miserably to
Every
my
time.
enjoyment every time.
Every time.
But we have Michelle Turnbull. Thank you for being here again. And you started this business because you saw, like I'm seeing, looking out here, and I'm saying, you know what? I need to change the world, but you all, I also need to eat.
Right.
So let me charge these folks, but also let me have something of real value to give them. I know that's your stance. I know that's how it begins. But tell us a bit about this process for you.
Right. So initially, when I started my business, I started as a special education consultant. Had gone through, some toxic work environments, left the school-based education, and this is all during COVID. So I said, you know what? I want to continue, working with students with disabilities and supporting families and those children. So started that business, did well. And through the process of growing and healing and telling my story, it almost felt like, not almost felt, it feels like it's a calling that like it's pulling me. Like, yeah, you can do, like, that's what your skill set is, right? This is the job you've had for the past 30 some years. You could do that with your eyes closed. But this right here is a different type of, let me go explore what this, what this feeling that I have. I started being, like, it rejuvenated me just telling my story and going on this journey. And now I've shifted to transformational coaching. And this is all fairly new. But again, coaching has been what I've been doing. So that part of it is not new. But the part of the transformational and the empowerment coach is fairly new. But again, I'm looking for women or serving women 40 years or older who have gone through life experiences. And it can be grief. Again, that's part of my story. Grief, going through issues at your job, not knowing whether or not you should stay, should you pivot, toxic relationships. And again, so many things. Like, I've had fibroids. What is that for women? Having children, not having children, all of these issues that we as women at some point or the other deal with, right? And helping, as we just stated, like getting from point A to point B if you're feeling stuck. If you're feeling like you don't have someone to talk to, if you're feeling like you don't quite know what this next step is, if you're feeling like boxed in, because that's where that feeling for me was coming, where that crying happened. I was just like, I know I got to do better. Like, this is not my life. Like, this is not what I envisioned for myself. Like, what do you mean? It was really, so for those women who are feeling that and not quite sure of what to do, where to go, how to get there, that's where I come in. And I'm just like, come and see me. I got you, girl. But yeah, that's what this business is. And I'm working my way there. I've had several speaking engagements. This is one of them that I'm adding to my little check mark. Like, yep, I got me another podcast. So working my way up the ladder to sharing my story and hopefully getting on bigger stages and bigger opportunities to help empower and to motivate others to know that it's okay. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You are able to do and live whatever life you want to live, and you deserve it. Don't ever think that you don't. So that is the business that I do have.
Yes. And you kind of gave it in that elevator speech. You can live any life that you want to live. I was going to ask you what would be that one, 2-minute takeaway that women would have. So you've already said it, but give us like the first steps. Like, what do they need to do if they're, of course, come and see you.
Right.
Right. But if you gave them the pre-homework, like we were talking about before they get to you, what's that pre-homework that they would need to do?
The pre-homework for me would be visualizing. Like I like to do a lot of visualizing. So it's really just literally them closing your eyes, and I want you to envision the life that you want.
Yo, I love it. I love it. That's the beginning of my latest book.
That's it.
I
Envision
think
it.
people, you ask people, what is it that you want to be, or who do you want, and all this different stuff, and they have no clue.
No clue.
Dude, that's the main thing for you to
That's
see.
it.
How are you sad and you don't know what you want to be doing? Like, you might as well be happy and right, but figure out what you want to do.
I want you to
And
close your eyes. I want you to what do you hear? What do you
and it's
see?
the lifestyle. That's the
around
word
you.
that kid gets it for me.
Mhm.
What is the lifestyle you want? Because it doesn't matter positions and money and all this different stuff.
Nope.
If you aren't living, like you said, go take us through it again. So like, what are you hearing?
What are you hearing? What are you seeing? Who's around you? Where are you? Like, give that to me, and then let's talk about what do we need to do to get there. Right. So once you envision it, let's look at where you are now. And then let's talk about what are some of those steps. Right. It could be getting yourself into the library to do some research. It could be getting a certification so that you can open up the spa that you want. It could be you start researching girl groups, women groups for you to join, because you want that experience of having girlfriends around you. Okay, so let's talk about it. Right? Let's figure that out. So, but you won't know until you actually begin to envision what is that life that you want, right? What are those sounds? Do you want to be in a nice, quiet area? Like, do you want that around? Let's talk about moving to the country. Let's talk about moving to St. Thomas. Hey, right. Let's talk about that. You want to be on the beach? All right. What do we have to do to get there? But in order for you to know, you have to envision it. And I don't just want arbitrary. Yeah, I just want to go on vacation. No, that's not it. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what's the real deal. If that's part of your dream, that's fine. But let's look at how we're going to get to that end point so that you can make that traveling and those dreams actually happen.
Yes. I always say, tell me what you would do after vacation.
Right.
Like, that's the
thing vacation that I'm worried about. We could get you on vacation. We can get you on vacation up the block. Like, hey, but what are we going to do to, like, what is the afterlife? Like, what is that whole experience that you want for yourself?
Yeah. I love that, because I hear and encounter so many people like say, I love the sound of water. Well, you can live near the water, right? Like, what are you living out in the wilderness for? And you like the sound of water? Like, come on now.
Right.
They're just small things. I don't know, Dr. Gail. I think they should also accept zodiac signs too, but that's just me. I can't project what I want onto everybody. I can just write the books and hope they read them.
Ooh, leave me alone. And Michelle, we're not going to entertain Dr. Wright, but listen, could we have like 1 more minute to go, 1 or 2? Can you, in a few words or a few sentences, offer something to a woman who might be struggling, or a woman who probably would have gone through what you have gone through? If you could give them one word of wisdom or nugget, what would that be?
That word would be self-love. Like, I think a lot of what I was missing throughout that journey was the true love of self, right? When you begin to love yourself, the world opens up for you. You'll start to realize that some of those losses are what's going to set you free, right? Losing my stepfather, as you were saying, Dr. Losing my stepfather, it could have been, again, another anchor, but it set me free. I didn't have the discernment to know when my mom passed that was part of it as well. But once he passed, like, he did something that just released me. Right. And it began to open me up to who I was as a person, for me, loving the skin that I'm in, loving my hair as it is, being able to just talk and be free, So just self-love. You have to begin to love yourself, and everything else is going to fall into place.
Talking about letting yourself free and starting with self, in therapy, I learned this new phrase, releasing yourself from false guilt, right?
Yep.
And I mean, when I internalized that and understood what he was saying, oh God, there, liberate yourself, right? Because we hold on to things that we think, right? We hold on to a memory. And it's not that we can't grieve. It's appropriate to grieve. You're missing loved ones, right? You're changing relationships, or that people are leaving and you feel a need to continuously hold on to a particular thing that doesn't serve you any useful purpose in your life because of some guilt that you feel, right? So to release yourself from that is liberating mind, soul, and body. It is a healing that comes that allow you to then start loving yourself,
Right.
promoting self-love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And talking about promoting self-love, and with that, just because I know no zodiac sign gave me that thought, this is why I believe in God.
That is
And on that note, we bid you adieu, listeners, for this episode of Come Meg We Talk. Thank you, Dr. Guy. Thank you, Michelle. It was wonderful.
Thank you for having
we'll talk
me.
some more.
And Michelle, can I just say to you too as well, I just really want to thank you for allowing yourself to be here, for taking my invitation, and have Dr. Wright, tell you all he needs to tell you, venting and all of that. But listen, this was good conversation. He's absolutely amazing, and we would love to have you back again. And listen, you need to have him on your podcast.
Yes, I'm definitely
that. Absolutely. Right?
Yes,
So
coming down the line. All of that is coming down the line. They can follow me on social media by my name, Michelle Turnbull.
Right.
I also am part of a book anthology, Breaking the Silence 2, stories of resilience, transformation, and inspiration. So that is coming out. And if they follow me, then they'll be able to get the information for it. I'll give it to you and you can pass it on to your viewers.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. All the best.
All right. Bye. Thank you.